It all kicks off at Jiangnan Shangjiang University, where someone keeps calling out for Lu Donglai like a broken record. At that moment, the professor barks at the kid to wake up already and answer the question on the board. The young dude snaps his eyes open, totally spooked and clueless about what's going down around him. With that, his classmates start whispering that he's a total lost cause just a hopeless noob. Sitting there bewildered at his desk, he wonders how on earth he hasn't faded away yet. The professor demands silence and groans about how the prestigious Lu family could produce such a massive flop. The students keep gossiping, saying his dad is a big shot, but the son turned out to be a walking punchline. While listening to all that noise, he realizes his soul just respawned into the body of Lu Donglai. Back in the day, he was known as Yutianji, an absolute supreme boss in the cultivation world. After grinding for over 5,000 years, he was just one tiny step away from ascending to the heavens. But he ended up meeting a tragic end, all thanks to the ultimate backstab by a close companion. The culprit was Shuang'er, the daughter of the Soul Emperor, someone he basically treated as family. She completely played his soft spot for family to double-cross him like a total coward. Furious, the master made sure none of the traitors would walk away from that, even if it meant it was curtains for him too. So he hit the self-destruct button, taking all the demon sovereigns and the backstabber right out with him. Since he's now scored a second chance at life, he decides to use this new body to serve some ice-cold payback. Analyzing the situation, he notices the real Lu Donglai wasn't actually born a total goof. Someone straight up implanted a toxic needle into the kid's brain to slowly fry his nerves. From this, he figures that whoever pulled off such a precise and savage job had to be an absolute pro. The needle took out the original owner right before he clocked in, and now he needs to yank it out immediately. Knowing he always repays his debts, the master vows to avenge the kid and make the culprit pay the price. Right then, the professor yells furiously, asking what he's doing and telling him to sit down this instant. Finding the whole thing hilarious, he thinks it's downright pathetic for a lowly teacher to try and boss him around. He flashes back to when he was an alpha leader with thousands of disciples who would shake in their boots just looking at him. Completely ignoring the professor, he just walks right out of the room while the guy screams in disbelief. Striding with purpose, he accepts that as of today, the identity of Yitianji is officially retired. Now chilling on the college campus, he starts calmly plotting his next moves. Checking out the modern world, he realizes a guy can live pretty darn well even without cultivating. But the real buzzkill is the lack of spiritual energy to get his powers back online. Sitting down to test the waters, he confirms that Earth's spiritual vibe is basically running on empty. Because of that, he decides his main priority is dealing with that toxic needle stuck in his skull. He heads straight to the boys' dorms to get some much-needed privacy. Stepping into the empty room, he locks the door so no one can crash his party. Remembering his roommates are stuck in class, he knows he's got plenty of time. Glancing at the clock, he calculates he has a little over 1 hour before the bell rings. To avoid wrecking the bed with the sheer pressure of the process, he wisely decides to park it on the floor. He knows the perp used a sneaky trick so that normal medical scans would never spot the needle. But for an ex-sect leader like him, popping that thing out is a total walk in the park. Flexing his power, blue spiritual flames start swirling around the young dude's body. The needle, thin as silk, begins shifting inside his brain, guided by his flawless energy control. Feeling the sting, he swears to eliminate whoever had the guts to pull such a wicked move on a kid. The metal had been wedged in there for years, which is going to drain a massive chunk of his current energy. The blue aura blasts around him as the extraction hits the boiling point. With the pressure released, deep cracks spiderweb across the room's wall and clock. Sighing, totally wiped out after getting it out, he realizes just how badly this body had been wrecked over the years. Completely gassed from the physical toll, he passes out cold on the dorm floor right after. Later on, the young dude wakes up comfortably resting in a hospital bed. Then he notices someone is sleeping right next to him and realizes his body is still super weak. The girl resting there starts to slowly wake up once she feels him moving around. Looking at him with total affection, she wipes away the worried tears that were welling up in her eyes. Super hyped to see he's awake, she celebrates with relief that her brother finally opened his eyes. Right after, she dashes out into the hallway screaming excitedly to grab the doctor on duty. The doc checks the young dude out and lets them know he's totally fine, just a little mentally drained. The sister nervously asks if they should run more tests, but the doc promises it's all good. Thrilled by the update, she flashes a bright smile, knowing the worst is finally over. He silently gets a bit emotional, realizing it's been millennia since someone looked at him with that much care. Scrolling through Lu Donglai's memories, he remembers his adopted sister Yiking always had his back. Meanwhile, his biological parents totally ditched him without a second thought when he got diagnosed. Finding it pretty cool that she shares his old Yi surname, he feels an instant connection. Watching his sister thank the doc, he silently promises to protect her from any bad vibes from here on out. With that, the girl runs over and gives him a massive hug, crying tears of relief that he's safe. He gently pats her face and jokes that she needs to stop crying so she doesn't look like a total dork. The sister pulls back a little confused, thinking he seems way different than his usual self. She notices his eyes are super bright and full of life like never before. Because of this, she asks point blank if he's finally snapped out of his clueless phase. The young dude casually confirms that her brother just got a massive brain upgrade. While quietly scheming, he decides he's going to hunt down every single person who tried to mess with them. With a fierce glare, he vows that none of the culprits will get away with a slap on the wrist. The next morning, back on the Shangjiang University campus, classes kick off like usual. In the packed cafeteria, students stare in shock at the absolutely wild amount of food stacked on his table. He inhales his meal with serious purpose, totally ignoring all the weird stares from the crowd. Even though his sister told him to stay home and chill, he knows he's gotta move fast. The students whisper that the campus goofball must have woken up with the appetite of a dragon. Finishing up, he knows he needs to fuel up and rebuild his strength to face the hidden boss pulling the strings. Later, hanging outside the library, he gears up to set his master plan in motion. He heads inside to hit the books and grab some answers about this new world he's stuck in. Holding a textbook, he figures out the spiritual energy here is way too trash to level up the old school way. Just then, some nearby students start mocking him, saying he's only pretending to read to get someone's attention. Brushing off the haters, he plans to use basic medicinal herbs to recreate the epic alchemy formulas from his past life. Checking out an illustration of a root, he decides to hunt for common plants that pack a similar punch. Later that night, back at the college dorms, it's way past 1 in the morning. Sitting in a lotus pose out on the balcony, he starts channeling his spiritual energy under the moonlight. However, he feels that his body's energy channels are completely clogged with absolute garbage and toxins. Without blinking, he decides to force all his stacked up energy through at once to blast the channels wide open. Going into absolute focus mode, a crazy intense light flashes in his eyes during the process. Boom, he successfully breaks through to level 1 of energy condensation, totally hacking human sensory limits. Now the wind and every single sound within a 100-meter radius are fully under his radar. But one of his roommates wakes up, wanders onto the balcony, and gets super confused by what he sees. The guy gets scared and asks what the heck he's doing out there in the middle of the night instead of catching zeets. The roommate then tells him to go to sleep, reminding him they both have early classes the next morning. Nodding calmly, Lu Donglai wonders to himself if the special effects from leveling up were a bit too loud. The roommate stares at him, noticing something feels seriously different about the guy. The MC worries that flexing his recovery right now might put a target on his back from the enemies still watching the school. But the roommate just cracks a joke about his new haircut, saying it actually makes him look pretty fresh. Relieved, he realizes the dude only noticed the hairdo his sister gave him and laughs at himself for overthinking it. The MC even jokes back about being a total stud now, but tells his buddy to head inside so he doesn't catch a cold. Walking back to his bed, he knows he's got to reclaim his supreme power to properly guard his squad. Even if the grind is lonely and full of red flags, he promises to stay locked in on his spiritual glow. The next day, the sun is shining bright over the girls' dorm. Yahello King is hyping up her phone screen, super proud, watching her brother solve crazy hard math problems like it's nothing. A roommate randomly walks in and teases her, asking if she's texting a boyfriend with that goofy smile. She quickly shuts down the romance rumor and excitedly spills that her brother is finally back to normal. The friend is totally shook, knowing his old reputation and definitely not expecting this massive comeback. Annoyed by all the toxic rumors, the girl defends her brother, claiming he's a low-key genius that everyone will respect soon. Right then, the friend shoves her own phone in her face and tells her to look at something super urgent. She pulls up a viral post where people are roasting the MC for practicing martial arts in the middle of the campus field. Spooked by the video, Yahello King sprints out the door, heading straight to the courtyard to see what the deal is. Meanwhile, on the sports field, Lu Donglai is out there throwing hands, practicing some crisp moves in the air. All around him, students are gossiping and cracking up, thinking his shadowboxing is pure comedy. Locked in on his grind, he knows that even if he's nerfed compared to his past, his current stats are more than enough to fold any regular dude. Suddenly, a beefy guy swaggers up, trying to look intimidating, and blocks his path. Unbothered, Lu Donglai just casually asks if the guy is lost or something. The challenger leans in, giving him this edgy try-hard glaring contest. The two stand face to face in the middle of the field, drawing a crowd of nosy bystanders. With zero chill, the MC demands to know who this random NPC is and what he wants. The bully smirks, noting he definitely looks different from the punching bag everyone used to dunk on. Dealing with this cheap trash talk, the MC just finds the whole interaction incredibly cringe and exhausting. The meathead introduces himself as Lin Chin and orders him to stay miles away from Yahello King from now on. He keeps running his mouth, saying a total bum like him is just dragging the girl's clout down. The MC actually finds it hilarious that a regular human is trying to press the former boss of the universe's most elite sect. Keeping it cool, Lu Donglai tells the guy that whoever his sister dates is her own business and tells him to take a hike. The rival loses it, thinking the dude is just straight up giving up on protecting her, but the master claps back, saying that as her brother, he'd only approve of someone who actually levels up to his standards. That comment makes Lin Kin absolutely blow a gasket over the direct disrespect. In his head, Lu Donglai figures this wannabe tough guy wouldn't even be qualified to mop the floors at his old sect. Getting physical, the bully tries to sneak in a sucker punch mid-conversation. The MC just shakes his head at how trash this guy's character is for pulling such a cowardly move. He reminisces about the good old days when literal emperors would bow down to him with absolute respect. Effortlessly, he catches the rival's fist mid-air, honestly baffled by the sheer audacity of a mortal trying to touch him. The bully's eyes pop out of his skull, unable to compute how his punch got caught with literally zero effort. Giving him no time to process, the MC squeezes the guy's hand with terrifying hydraulic press level 4. Next, he unloads a martial arts technique, landing a clean heavy strike directly on the opponent. The impact sends the bully flying into the dirt, screaming like crazy while clutching his busted arm. The crowd watches in pure shock as the supposedly toughest jock on campus gets folded in 5 seconds flat. Walking away like a boss, the master thinks about how foolish normal humans are for testing a cultivator. He knows the grind to the top is long, but his current stats are already overkill for dealing with regular folks. Meanwhile, a few buddies run over to help Lin Chin scrape himself off the floor. Trying to save face, the bully lies through his teeth, saying it was just a light spar and that he's hitting the nurse's office. But one dark glare from the MC makes him shiver in his sneakers, totally shutting him up. Freaking out, he wonders how a random student could be flexing such a boss-level aura. Shaking like a leaf, the bully actually asks for permission to leave while the crowd watches absolutely stunned. Stopping in his tracks, the MC realizes this clown was definitely sent by someone else as a test. He demands the name of the real coward who used this method as a cheap puppet. Defeated, Lin Chin spills the beans, saying he was manipulated by a guy named Lin Najhong who handed him photos of the siblings. Ready for action, the young dude decides to go hunt down the mastermind when he hears a familiar voice screaming. King comes sprinting across the field, panicking about whether he got hurt. Running up, she grabs his shoulders, checking him up and down for any scratches. Patting her head, he tells her he's perfectly fine and jokes that she must have rolled out of bed too early, but her face switches up real quick when she spots the bully rolling in the dirt. Furious, she unloads on Lin Chin, making it crystal clear she never even liked him. Pointing fingers, King warns him that if he ever tries to start beef with her brother again, she won't let it slide. Hearing that, Lin Chin limps away, muttering that he'll be thanking his lucky stars if the MC doesn't come looking for him instead. Just then, King introduces her bestie Guru, who gives a shy wave while the MC observes her closely. He spots that the girl has a super rare physical debuff with blocked energy channels, meaning she barely has 22 years to live. Noticing him zoning out, the sister asks what's up, but he brushes it off, deciding it's better not to get mixed up with her friend right now. The young dude plans to track down the puppet master ASAP to see if they're tied to the toxic needle incident, so he casually asks which building the economics department is in, and Guru points to a red brick block, totally clueless about his real motive. Walking toward the building, the MC says he's just gonna go take a look around, but really he's out to smoke out his hidden haters. Watching him walk off, King really feels like her brother has completely rebooted into a brand new person. The scene shifts to the economics building, where classes are going down in this massive red brick structure. Inside, students are whispering in pure panic that the campus tough guy got sent to the nurse after being brutally humiliated outside. Hearing this, the heir of the powerful Lin family, Lin Nanhong, figures some rival crew must be using the MC for a secret plot. Boiling with rage, the guy slams a heavy punch into his classroom desk, literally cracking the wood from the impact. Standing up, pissed off, he swears it's no big deal and that he'll personally crush this pawn sent by his rivals. Standing right outside the door, the master decides this is the perfect time to show everyone what he's really made of. Stepping into the classroom with total swagger, he formally introduces himself as Lu Donglai and casually mentions he's a student here too. Staring down the room, the young dude states with pure disrespect that any scrub sent his way is just a bug waiting to get squashed. He rolls in with his hands in his pockets, projecting massive alpha energy, making the whole room drop to dead silence. Annoyed, the professor adjusts his glasses and orders him to get out immediately since the lecture is about to start. Totally ignoring the teacher, the master flexes his dark aura and asks out loud which one of them is the infamous Lin Nanhong. The girls in class start whispering about how good-looking he is until one realizes he's actually the guy everyone calls a dummy. Sizing up the intruder, Lin Nanhong smirks, thinking it's hilarious the kid actually had the guts to pull up to his turf. Right on cue, three methods stand up, cracking their knuckles to intimidate the intruder and show they're ready to brawl. One of the goons yells aggressively that the kid isn't worthy of facing their boss and tells him to try getting past them first. Cool as ice, the MC effortlessly dodges the first punch thrown his way, thinking about how hilariously slow normal humans move. Wasting zero time, the MC fires back with a lightning-fast pinpoint strike right to the first guy's face. The sheer force launches the goon to the floor, where he screams in agony while the master just stands there unbothered. Keeping his voice dead calm but terrifying, the young dude warns the class he's only going to ask his question one more time. He demands to know who Lin Nanhong is, telling the guy to step up and stop hiding. The students panic, seeing a tough guy get one-shotted, and seriously question if this is really the school's old punching bag. People start whispering that Lin Nanhong comes from a military family and has insane combat stats way out of everyone else's league. Hearing this, the military heir steps up looking like a boss and admits they all clearly underestimated the rival's stats until now. He tosses his jacket aside to flex his muscles, officially introducing himself as Lin Nanhong while radiating intense battle energy. The crowd checks out the military guy's crazy build and assumes the MC is absolutely cooked for waking up this beast. The professor frantically tries to step in, demanding to know what the heck these two think they're doing in his classroom. Totally cocky, Lin Nanhong tells the teacher to chill and promises he's gonna wrap this up in record time. Turning to his rival, the fighter asks if he wants to take this outside to the courtyard or find some quiet corner to throw down. But the master shuts down the offer, instantly saying there's no need to move because this room is plenty of space. With absolute disrespect, he suggests the guy should just spill who hired him so he can go a little easier on the beatdown. The military dude laughs sarcastically at the sheer audacity and swears he's gonna teach the kid a painful lesson about messing with the wrong people. Going straight for the offensive, the fighter throws a brutal haymaker at the MC, who just sighs, seeing the guy won't cooperate. He watches the punch come in slow motion, noting that it's purely brute force with zero actual technique. With zero effort, the MC casually raises his hand and catches the attacker's fist mid-air like it's a baseball. The fighter's eyes bug out, completely glitching over how his ultimate strike got blocked by a guy who didn't even shift his stance. Trying to yank his arm back, the military guy realizes the kid's grip is like a steel vise, and he is entirely stuck. Capitalizing on the guy's wide-open defense, the master unleashes a kick so fast it literally slices the air in the room. The devastating impact launches the military air backward before he can even think about blocking. He crashes violently into the desks and chairs at the back of the room, totally obliterating the furniture under his weight. The students scream in pure terror, watching the most feared fighter on campus get totally humbled and launched with one basic move. The professor points a shaking finger at the MC, screaming that he's going to report this savage attack to the dean immediately. While the other kids are shaking, worried about the Lin family's incoming revenge, the MC just stands there looking completely chill and imposing. The students keep whispering that the MC just signed his own game over screen, since even the principals bow to the rival's family. Laying in the wreckage, the defeated military guy tries to catch his breath while the master walks up to him with zero mercy in his eyes. Crouching down, the young dude casually deduces out loud that whoever ordered the hit definitely belongs to the Lin family. Shivering with fear at the MC's ice-cold glare, the broken guy stutters, asking what he plans to do to him now. Dead serious, the master warns that if he ever wants a rematch, he better come straight at him and leave his family out of it. Without a second thought, he grabs both of the rival's arms and uses a terrifying amount of force, dislocating his joints in a split second. The military ear lets out a deafening scream of agony that bounces off the walls, collapsing helplessly on the classroom floor. Watching the guy suffer, the MC asks coldly if now that both his arms are popped out, he's finally ready to tap out. Bawling from the pain, the guy admits total defeat and begs for mercy, swearing he'll never go near the Liu family again. Harshly correcting the enemy's mistake, the master states his real family name is Yi, forcing the guy to repeat the promise correctly. Satisfied with the answer, the young dude stands up, thinking that if he wasn't strong enough, his sweet sister would still be getting harassed. With that, he casually strolls toward the exit, leaving the crushed bully on the floor while the whole class watches in stunned silence. Stopping at the door for 1 second, the MC gives a final silent glare that makes everyone in the room shake in fear of his power. Furious at his useless goons, the injured guy screams at them to stop acting like NPCs and get him to a hospital. The professor loses his mind, yelling that the attacker is going to get slapped with a massive suspension for putting a student in the ICU during class hours. Just then, one of the students points out that the intruder was actually the school's legendary dummy, leaving the teacher totally mind blown. The professor pushes up his glasses, completely baffled as to how a guy known for being clueless could pull off such an arrogant, overpowered flex. A little while later, the camera shifts to a totally different classroom in another wing of the college. One of Ki King's friends comes sprinting in and tells her to check the school's forums right now, saying her brother just did something absolutely insane. Pulling out her phone, the girl watches the fight footage and reads a flood of comments hyping up his insane power level. Super proud of her big bro, she cheers excitedly, thrilled to see him glow up into someone so epic and strong. But her friend quickly pops the bubble, warning her about the defeated guy's military family and saying this W is going to bring some serious heat. Realizing the danger, the young girl decides to shoot her brother a warning text immediately so he knows what's coming. Meanwhile, the young dude is just strolling across the quad, totally ignoring the official suspension notices slapped all over the bulletin boards. He picks up his ringing phone, wondering what a school suspension has to do with him, and asks who's calling. On the other end, Ki King is practically screaming his name, making him wince and ask her to turn down the volume. Running and panicking, Yi King warns him that the guy he beat up is from a major military family that is 100% coming for revenge. Cool as a cucumber, the MC states he's waded through oceans of fallen enemies in his past life and doesn't sweat some petty mortal threat. Freaking out, his sister begs him to stay on campus, but he drops the bomb that he's already left the gates, prompting her to chase after him. Hanging up, Lu Donglai walks confidently into the wind, laser focused on his one goal, grinding to get even stronger. Over at the hospital, the defeated fighter's mom is throwing a massive fit after seeing her son look like he went through a meat grinder. The woman is screaming uncontrollably, accusing Lu Donglai of crossing the line and questioning if he's totally lost his mind. Boiling with deep-seated rage, the guy tells his mom not to snitch to his dad so he can crush his rival with his own hands. The injured guy's uncle storms in, absolutely livid that some outcast from the Liu family dared to lay a finger on his nephew. Grinding his teeth in pure hatred, the fighter swears revenge so he doesn't permanently lose all his clout at the university. At the same time, the master looks at his own hands, realizing that even against basic humans he can't afford to slack off. He clenches his fist, determined to fast-track the upgrades for this body, which is still way too fragile for his grand plans. Standing on the curb, the MC flags down a cab with purpose, ready for his next mission. Hopping into the ride, he orders the driver to step on it and take him to the nearest traditional medicine pharmacy. During the ride, he plots how to unlock more of his physical potential the second he finishes crafting his power-up pills. Shortly after, the taxi pulls up outside a local shop that sells traditional medicinal herbs. At the counter, the MC rattles off a list of super rare herbs, leaving the cashier totally confused since he didn't bring a prescription. Not wanting to waste breath explaining, he just firmly tells the guy to bag up all the ingredients immediately. Walking back down the street, he realizes with a sigh that he just blew his entire budget on those plants. Deep in thought, the young dude knows he needs a chill spot to brew his pills, but his wallet is currently at zero. Just then, two girls come running frantically down the street when they spot the young guy just taking a casual stroll. Surprised to bump into Yi King, he listens as his sister jokingly asks if he just robbed the place considering the massive bag he's holding. Finding this timing absolutely perfect, he shoots his shot and asks his sister for an emergency loan of $1,000. Both girls just freeze, totally caught off guard by the sudden request for cash. The MC keeps it straight, explaining he needs to rent a decent workspace to process his ingredients properly. Digging through her purse, his sister says she only has a little over $1,000 saved up, which he knows isn't gonna cut it. In her head, she assumes these medicinal plants must be super important to fully fix her brother's brain. Right then, her shy friend Guru steps up and offers her own debit card, which has a balance of $4,000. Handing the card over on the down low, the girl whispers the PIN code and tells him not to let his sister worry about it. Scanning the girl's stats, the master notices she has a rare debuff that's going to cap her lifespan at exactly 22 years. Thanking her for the save, he promises to pay back every cent in a couple of weeks, though she tells him not to stress it. The friend gets lost in thought, wondering why she feels so secure around the intense energy the guy is giving off. Walking off alone, the MC knows that kind of cash is basically a lifetime of savings for a normal girl like her. He decides he now owes her big time and that destiny will make sure everything balances out. Remembering the girl's critical HP, he knows any normal doctor would have already thrown in the towel and let her fade away. With ultimate pride, the former supreme cultivator swears he'll use his hacks to make sure she doesn't meet her maker early. A little while later, he tracks down a busted-up cheap apartment building way out in the boondocks. Haggling with the landlord, he locks in the rent at $600 a month and drops $1,800 to move in right away. Stepping into the dingy room, he knows he's got to focus heavily on leveling up his spirit so he can start farming cash fast. Even though the place is basically a dump, the master admits the total isolation is exactly what he needs for his grind. With it, he sets a pot of water to boil on a tiny portable stove right in the middle of the room. In the zone for his alchemy craft, he reviews the 3 golden rules needed to guarantee a flawless refinement process. He knows the herb quality and having absolute heat control are totally clutch to unlock their healing buffs. Raising his right hand, the MC makes the ingredients start floating wrapped in a smooth blue aura of magic. The master sorts the ingredients into 3 piles so each one gets the exact heat treatment it needs before the final mix. He sighs about how the lack of magic juice on Earth seriously nerfs the medicine's potential, but he stays locked in, flexing his ancient know-how. He controls the fire like an absolute boss, whipping up the base pill in record time. But suddenly, a massive crash at the apartment door totally wrecks the peaceful vibe of his sacred crafting session. Feeling the door shaking violently, the young dude instantly knows these mystery guests are bringing nothing but bad news. With a savage kick, the wooden door is blown wide open by thugs barging into his space like absolute animals. 3 armed goons step into the room, instantly roasting the dumpy hideout the kid picked to hide from them. The squad leader points straight at the MC, confirming they tracked down the exact target they were hunting. One of the masked henchmen raises a metal bat ready to start swinging without giving any time for chit-chat. Totally unfazed, Ludonglai just groans that these trespassers interrupted the most delicate phase of his pill crafting. He announces he's not about to waste precious time on low-level mobs and squares up for an instant brawl. Without blinking, the MC dashes at crazy speed, throwing a devastating punch that connects flawlessly with the rival's face. Using the momentum, he spins into a martial arts combo, launching a shockwave of wind that pushes the haters back. Getting crushed by the combo, the goon screams in absolute agony as he gets blasted across the room. The henchman hits the concrete floor so hard it's an instant KO, leaving him knocked out cold in the hallway. The second the guy hits the floor, the MC drops into a crouch to keep his fire control absolutely perfect under the pot. Picking up a weird magic vibe from the blonde leader, the master wonders if there are other hidden cultivators running around Earth. The blonde boss smirks, mockingly hyping up the MC's defense stats for actually tanking his previous attack. Blocking a lightning-fast kick with his forearm, the young dude realizes this enemy isn't actually a magic cultivator. He sees the guy just farmed a ton of vitality points from years of hitting the gym and admits he totally underestimated the mortals. Searching through his brain's search history, he identifies the guy as one of those warriors people call martial artists. Even if they're basically nerfed compared to spirit mages, these guys hit way harder than any regular dude on the street. Seeing the kid go on the defensive, the blonde fighter mocks him for trying so hard to protect a rusty old pot. Pulling a dirty trick, the attacker kicks straight at the portable stove, forcing the master to literally tank the hit with his own body. Knowing his alchemy is in danger, he curses his luck for almost running out of mana right at the finish line. Spotting the kid's guard drop, the rival lands a massive heavy punch right squarely on the MC's chest. The sheer force of the frontal assault launches the young dude directly into the wall, kicking up a massive dust cloud. A thick fog of smoke and debris totally covers the room while dead silence takes over for a few seconds. Emerging from the rubble with a smirk, the master pops the brand new golden pill into his mouth, calling the crafting session a massive W. A colossal shockwave of spiritual power erupts around him, leaving the blonde attacker completely glitching out at the sight. He decides to use the martial artist as a test dummy for his new stats now that he hit the 2nd level of energy condensation. Seeing this, the fighter starts sweating buckets, totally shook by the boss aura and feeling like the kid just swapped characters. Stepping forward with serious swagger, Lu Donglai casually asks the guy if he's ready to meet his maker. Feeling the heat, the attacker decides he has to rush in right now before he loses his chance entirely. The enemy unloads a palm strike combo, making the young dude realize he's never even seen this move in the immortal realms. Unfazed, Lu Donglai swats the frontal attack away effortlessly using just one clean, precise motion. The impact sends the attacker to the floor screaming over a busted hand, while the master smirks at the insane stat gap of his new level. Panicking, the attacker screams that this kind of power doesn't belong to a normal college kid and demands to know his real identity. Stepping up, Lu Donglai holds his glowing hand right near the guy's face and tells him to shut his mouth permanently. He coldly states that nobody on this server has the right to ask him questions, leaving the rival whimpering in pure terror. Flexing golden flames in his palm, the master demands to know who sent the hit squad, threatening the guy with a much worse fate if he lies. To flex his power, he casually vaporizes a nearby table with an energy beam and warns the guy he's next if he doesn't talk. Coughing up a storm and drowning in panic, the man finally grasps how totally doomed he is against the kid's overpowered stats. Humbled on the floor, he snitches that Lin Nanhong from the wealthy Lin family hired him, literally begging to be spared. The master notes that the military kid's revenge arc triggered way faster than expected, but he's not even slightly surprised. Promising to make the rival pay double down the road, the master glares down at the terrified attacker shaking at his feet. Trying to salvage the situation, the captive forces a smile and asks if he's free to go now that he spilled all the tea honestly. Lu Donglai agrees to let him walk on one condition, which immediately makes the guy sweat knowing it won't be cheap. Pointing at the totally trashed room and the knocked out goons, he demands a cash payout for all the property damage. The guy is absolutely stunned that this overpowered monster is only asking for a little cash as compensation. The second the MC asks if there's an issue, the rival scrambles to say he accepts the terms without a single complaint. Kicking his own goons to wake them up fast, the boss orders them to wire every cent they have to the young master. A digital transfer notification pops up on the MC's phone screen confirming he got the bag exactly as promised. With the receipt on screen, the attacker nervously asks if they can bounce and the young dude tells them to get lost. The thugs absolutely book it out the open door, desperate to get as far away from that monster as humanly possible. Once outside, the minion asks if they're just gonna abandon the quest and the boss snaps back asking if he wants to go back in and die. The thug boss realizes that just throwing hands won't do squat against the crazy clout of the enemy's influential family. Back in the wrecked room, Lu Donglai admits that even in this world everything basically comes down to power and having VIP status. Checking his containers, he sighs that the pills barely got him to level 2 without even stabilizing his stats. Staring at the leftover meds in his hand, he wonders if this tiny crumb is really all he's got left. With zero hesitation, the young dude downs the rest of the stash to try and refill his mana bar as fast as possible. Sitting in meditation surrounded by golden flames, he grinds to lock in his power so he doesn't drop a spiritual level again. As his aura surges, the master tanks the massive physical toll caused by pushing his cultivation to the absolute limit. Out of nowhere, a crazy overpowered mystic visual ability unlocks in his brain right in the middle of the process. Pleasantly surprised, the master realizes the physical purge just activated a hidden bloodline in this body known as the Demon Eye. This legendary perk lets the user see the true stats of everything and reveals the base form of any item. He toggles the new eye power on and scans the room, totally blown away by the magical UI he just downloaded. Looking around the trashy room, he tests his spirit vision by locking onto an old appliance on the wall. Super hyped, the young dude admits this is a top-tier skill he actually used to be jealous of in his past life. But turning on the eye power completely drains his mana bar in seconds, making the glow fade out almost immediately. Holding his head from the headache, he groans that his current level only lets him use the hack for a few minutes at a time. He starts doing the math on the massive future bills for more herbs, fixing the apartment, and just paying to exist. Flopping onto his back on the floor, the master complains that in the mortal server everything is win. Right then his smartphone dings with a notification grabbing the attention of the guy trying to catch a break. Reading his feed, he sees an article about some dude who scored millions by finding an old vase with crazy historical value. Spotting a massive exploit, the young dude decides to use his special vision to go treasure hunting at the market and flip items for fast cash. Wasting zero time, the master heads out of the apartment, laser focused on hitting the city's antique market immediately. Strolling through the crowded lanes of the historic market, he hopes RNG is on his side to find epic loot hiding on the tables. Taking a deep breath of the market air, the young dude tries to scan for any residual vibes coming off the old stuff. Getting into the zone, the MC triggers his eye power and lets the magic energy completely take over his vision. A sketchy vendor tries to hustle him, pushing a decorated vase for 30,000 bucks and claiming it's from some ancient dynasty. Using his eye hack, the master thoroughly inspects the vase's coating to see if it's legit or just a scam. His skill instantly flags the item as a cheap knockoff explicitly designed to bait clueless noobs out of their money. After the MC calls out the glaring flaws in the fake, the vendor gets salty, muttering that the kid is just pretending to be an expert. Looking around, he realizes almost everything here is total trash and the local market is basically just a scammer's paradise. Feeling his energy drain, he admits he needs to zero in on his targets before his mana completely hits zero. Suddenly, the young dude's radar picks up a super faint pulse of mystic energy coming from a vendor table a little further down. He zeroes in on a dark iron rock with an emerald glow hidden inside, confirming he just struck gold. The MC admires the raw iron block and internally cheers for finding leftover spiritual energy, which is crazy rare on this server. While inspecting the loot, he spots a beefy guy in military gear walking by and instantly clocks him as a high-level fighter. Watching the guy walk away, he realizes this server has way more martial arts players than he originally thought. The merchant hypes up his items and says prices are negotiable, so the master schemes a way to buy the rock without looking sus. Strolling up casually, the young dude asks for the price tags on the table's inventory to kick off the haggling mini-game. Spotting what looks like an easy mark, the vendor plans to slap a massively inflated price on the items to score a quick bag. The seller drops some wild numbers for a necklace and a fan, making the MC sarcastically complain about the rip-off pricing. With his phone in hand, he decides to use the folding fan as a smokescreen to secure the iron block he actually wants. He offers to buy the fan as long as the merchant throws the chunk of iron in for free, and the vendor instantly takes the bait, thinking he won. After handing over the cash for the fan, the young dude mentally celebrates securing enough energy to craft an OP magic item. Popping the fan open, the master realizes the item hides a massive secret buff that the clueless vendor completely missed. He confirms the fan is actually a legit top-tier antique and that he's going to make absolute bank when he flips it later. Out of nowhere, people start screaming for a doctor after someone randomly face plants in the middle of the street. A huge crowd circles around an old man who collapsed while his grandson totally loses his mind, begging for someone to help his grandpa. The panicked kid yells at his military bodyguard to call immediately and get an ambulance on site. Watching the chaos, the master notices how the buff warrior takes orders from the kid and figures their family must have insane clout. Deciding to mind his own business, the young dude keeps walking, wanting to get back to his room to craft his gear. But then someone yells out a massive bounty of 100,000 bucks for anyone who saves the old guy, making the master freeze in his tracks. Doing the math on that reward, the MC realizes he now has a fantastic reason to jump in and play the hero. The grandson starts panicking even more when the bodyguard says the ambulance is going to take at least 10 minutes to arrive. Freaking out, the young kid yells at the crowd, begging to know if there's a doctor who can do some emergency first aid. But the bystanders just back away, saying they aren't medics and nobody wants the heat if things go south. Seeing his grandpa's HP fast, the grandson breaks down, crying that there's nobody around who can save him from fading away. Suddenly, an absolute boss voice orders everyone to part the sea and let the MC through. Hearing that, the spectators nervously step aside as they watch a guy roll up with absolute main character energy. Lu Donglai steps into the circle looking totally and declares with absolute confidence that he can clutch the revive. The young grandson stares at him in disbelief, asking if he's actually a certified doctor who knows what he's doing. But the master keeps it 100% real, saying he's no doctor, but promises he can fix the old man no problem. Hearing that, the military bodyguard aggressively warns him not to troll them if he can't handle the consequences of failing. Ignoring the hater, the MC moves at lightning speed and grabs the arm of the guard, trying to block his path. He drops a hard truth, warning them that if they keep stalling the heal, the old man is definitely going to get a game over. The military dude is completely mind-blown, unable to how random kid just overpowered his stats so effortlessly. Respecting the kid's crazy strength, the bodyguard backs off and helps, following the master's order to sit the old man up. Scanning the target, Lu Donglai calculates that even though his mana is low, it's just enough to clear the blocked arteries. Flexing his mystic powers, bright blue spiritual flames ignite and swirl intensely around the palm of the master's hand. With a swift pinpoint move, he channels all his stacked-up energy to execute the magical healing process. The MC delivers a firm energy-infused strike straight to the old guy's back to unblock his vital pathways. The impact of the heal causes the old man to cough up a massive puddle of dark toxins that were trapped in his chest. The grandson totally loses his mind seeing this, screaming for his grandpa and assuming the MC just dropped his HP to 0. Furious at the scene, the bodyguard lunges at the MC, aggressively demanding to know what he just did to the VIP. But Lu Donglai just sidesteps the military guy's punch with ridiculous ease and flawless timing. Whiffing the punch completely, the guard almost face plants and is left completely shook by the kid's insane agility. Scrambling to recover, the guy spits out a threat, saying the MC has nowhere to run, but the master goes into Ultra Instinct mode and counters the rival before he can even queue up his next attack. Pressing his finger right against the enemy's forehead, he drops a dead serious warning not to move a muscle if he wants to stay intact. The military guy starts sweating bullets and freezes up, totally glitching over how a random kid has such broken speed stats. Out of nowhere, a shaky voice from behind orders both of them to cancel the fight immediately. The old man wakes up coughing lightly, making his grandson feel the biggest wave of relief ever, seeing him online again. Feeling way better, the old guy explains that the heavy debuff crushing his chest has completely vanished. He orders the bodyguard to drop the aggro and admits that it was the young dude who just pulled off the epic save. The old man drops massive thanks and promises a huge reward, but Lu Donglai just cuts to the chase and asks for the cash bounty. Hearing this, the crowd starts whispering, shocked that the kid is straight up asking for the bag with zero hesitation. The master asks if they're going to honor the quest reward they shouted out, and the confused grandson nods yes. Finding the kid's bluntness hilarious, the old man praises his hustle and says he likes people who get straight to the point. Right after, he orders his bodyguard Chen Yang to hand the stack of cash over to the kid right on the spot. Handing over the thick wad of red bills, the soldier says thanks, and the MC takes it, acting like it was just another side quest. The onlookers watch with pure envy at the massive stack of cash the young dude just scored for a 2-minute job. Holding the paper, he's actually surprised people in this world still walk around carrying that much physical loot. With the mission complete, the MC drops a cool goodbye saying they'll cross paths again someday. But the old man asks him to hold up a second before he logs out of the area. He explains he's got a super severe cardiovascular debuff that all the top doctors claim is totally unfixable. Looking at the master with hope in his eyes, the old guy straight up asks if he has the skills to fully cure the illness. Lu Donglai goes radio silent for a second, totally calculating the ROI on this new proposal. He knows the mortal's debuff is just basic aging, which he can easily patch up using his crafted potion. With total confidence, the master replies straight up that he can 100% clear the old man's status effects. The grandson and the bodyguard are floored, reminding everyone that not even the highest-tier hospitals could pull that off. The MC flexes, saying just because the server's doctors are noobs doesn't mean his power is capped, and asks what the payout is. Holding up one finger, the old man offers $1 million a year if the young dude can guarantee another 20 years of life. But the master holds a finger right back and corrects him, saying his rate is actually $100,000 a year, making it $2 million total. The nosy crowd thinks charging $2 million is an absolutely astronomical flex for a random kid. But the old man just bursts out laughing, finding the kid's counteroffer completely hilarious and bold. He claims $2 million is honestly a massive bargain, which tells the MC this guy is definitely a top. The old man accepts the deal instantly and asks for the kid's banking info to wire the funds tomorrow, but the MC rejects the digital transfer, saying he doesn't mess with virtual money and only accepts hard cash. He tells them to bring the money and physical bills to the exact same spot in 2 days to unlock the full healing pack. The old man totally agrees to the terms and asks the young boss for his screen name. Walking away looking cool as ice, the MC just drops that his last name is Lu before disappearing into the crowd. The grandson nervously asks if the kid is actually legit, and the grandpa asks if he didn't feel the absolutely insane aura coming off him. The bodyguard Chen Yang confirms the kid's combat stats are way higher than his own and his healing magic is top. Smiling like a proud boss, the old man says he served in the military for years and his ability to read people never glitches. He concludes the kid is an absolute legend while Lu Donglai walks down the street hyped about today's massive loot drop. Holding his magic rock, he plans to completely wipe out his financial issues once he secures that incoming $2 million. Out of nowhere, the master's radar picks up some sketchy footsteps sneaking up right behind him. Dialing up his perception stats, he realizes he's being tailed by exactly 3 people. He does the math and figures out the stalkers are staying exactly 30 meters behind his position. Keeping totally chill, the young dude tries to guess which enemy faction sent this stealth squad to tail him. He debates whether the goons belong to Lin Nanhong or if they're agents sent by the rich old guy he just healed. Recognizing the rhythm of the footsteps, he realizes these stalkers are the exact same low-level mobs he folded earlier. The bandaged leader warns his squad about the kid's terrifying stats and reminds them this is just a stealth mission, no fighting. The spy squad watches the MC turn a corner into a sketchy deserted alleyway and decides to follow him in. Finding their persistence hilarious, the MC decides he doesn't need to hold back his DPS against these clowns anymore. The master casually strolls into the dark, empty alley, just waiting for the goons to pull up so he can wipe the floor with them. Just then, footsteps echo in the quiet alley and 3 shady silhouettes spawn right behind the MC. The squad leader mocks him, asking if Lu Donglai really thought they wouldn't try to run it back. With zero sweat, Lu Donglai turns around and drops a cold truth. He really wasn't expecting them to be this stupid. Flexing a dark, intimidating aura, he asks how a defeated scrub has the guts to risk a total game over by showing up again. The henchmen take a step back, totally rattled by the sudden shift in vibe and the absolutely crushing pressure the kid is giving off. Grinding his teeth, the blonde boss tries to hide his total panic under the opponent's boss-level glare. Getting tilted, the goons yell to skip the cutscene and just rush him to end the kid's run once and for all. With that, the 3 guys charge at Lu Donglai, fully committed to throwing down in the alley. Watching them push, he notes their stats are decent for normies, but they're completely out of their league against his energy level. He wonders what their actual strat is, considering the blonde guy definitely knows 2 extra noobs aren't enough to beat him. The goons start screaming in panic, totally unable to process how the kid just blitzed them before they could even blink. Punishing their terrible defense, Lu Donglai teleports into their blind spot and lands critical hits on both attackers at the same time. The devastating impact launches the sidekicks into the air, screaming like crazy as their HP drops to 0. Desperate, the blonde leader pulls out a knife and charges in, raging, screaming that he's taking the MC down with him. Even with a blade flying at his face, Lu Donglai just watches in slow-mo with pure ice in his veins, not showing a single drop of fear. Using literally just 2 fingers, Lu Donglai catches the blade mid-thrust, perfectly parrying the attack without taking a single point of damage. Staring blankly at the totally shocked attacker, the master reminds him he already gave him a free pass and asks what his endgame is here. Giving him 0 time to answer, he lands a brutal strike that makes the blonde boss cough up a storm as he gets launched backward. While the rival is down bad, Lu Donglai asks how much cash Lin Nanhong paid him to pull off such a totally suicidal mission. Even though he's wrecked, the blonde guy starts laughing like a maniac, claiming the kid's run is officially over this time. Confused by the defeated troll's weird confidence, the MC asks what kind of nonsense he's talking about. Suddenly, intense red and blue lights start flashing everywhere, accompanied by the blaring sound of police sirens. Like clockwork, a swarm of cop cars blocks the alley entrance, catching the young dude's attention as he watches the raid unfold. A cop with a thick mustache jumps out of the cruiser yelling at everyone to freeze and drop into a squat with hands on their heads. Doing the math, he realizes his current level can't tank bullets yet, and fighting the cops would just spawn too many unwanted side quests. The officers aim their weapons straight at the kid and aggressively order him to put his hands up right now. Playing along, Lu Donglai gets highly suspicious of how insanely fast the cops spawned right after the fight started. The young dude tries to explain he was actually getting ganked and the knife belonged to the thugs, but the cop completely ignores him and arrests everyone. Salty, the officer screams, asking how the weapon ended up in his hand if he was innocent, claiming he's caught in K. Ignoring any logic, the authorities shove Lu Donglai and the beaten-up thugs straight into the waiting police cruisers. Smirking like a toxic troll, the goon leader whispers that the MC's epic journey has finally hit a dead end. With that, the police cruiser speeds down the busy streets, heading straight toward the local precinct. Chilling in the back seat, Lu Donglai casually asks what kind of corrupt setup they're trying to pull off here. Lighting up a cigarette with total disrespect, the cop replies that the kid should already know which VIP's toes he stepped on. Hearing the MC drop Lin Nanhong's name, the officer chuckles, admitting the kid actually has half a brain. The cop mocks him, saying an abandoned outcast from the Lu family shouldn't go around beefing with young Master Lin. He adds that against the military family's massive influence and deep pockets, his fighting skills are completely useless. Fuming with quiet rage, the master swears in his head that he'll make Lin Nanhong pay double for this absolute disrespect. Meanwhile, the scene cuts to the city hospital, where the injured military hair is resting up after getting completely humbled. Not looking back, the rival asks if the trap worked, and his assistant confirms the cops successfully bagged Lu Donglai. Flashing a wicked grin, the military heir promises the kid is about to learn exactly why you don't mess with his faction. Back in the cop car cruising down the main avenue, the MC is already theory crafting his next play. Playing mind games, Lu Donglai casually suggests they should probably delay his jail time for at least 2 days. The driver thinks the request is a joke and asks if the clueless kid still hasn't figured out that young Master Lin is the one writing the script. Dialing up his intimidating aura, the master advises them to let him go right now if they want to keep their government jobs intact. The master drops a heavy warning: if they keep pushing this, in exactly 2 days, he'll make sure they all deeply regret their life choices. Right on cue, a dark, terrifying vibe fills the car, hitting the corrupt cops with an instant wave of freezing dread. Shaking it off, the police captain snaps back, asking who the kid thinks he is trying to intimidate them with that fake tough guy talk. The driver nervously asks if the kid actually has any real connections, but the boss shuts it down, insisting young Master Lin is the ultimate authority. Shortly after, the cruiser pulls up to its final destination, parking right outside the massive West Side police station. Yanking the back door open aggressively, the cop orders the kid to step out of the vehicle immediately without any funny business. Handing the prisoner over to the head delegate, the captain gets a pat on the back for speed running the arrest. The head delegate reveals they already forged his confession papers and tells them to toss the kid straight into cell number 137. Spotting the setup, Lu Donglai asks if they aren't worried about catching a massive ban for faking evidence and forging signatures. Flashing a greasy, toxic smile, the delegate shows absolute zero respect for the law or justice. He brags that inside this precinct his word is absolute law, meaning a random college kid has zero chance of changing the outcome. Looking smug, the boss orders his guys to confiscate all the kid's inventory so he can't try any slick escapes. While escorting him, the guards whisper that this specific cell is packed with high-level criminals and the kid is totally done for. Walking in silence, the MC clearly realizes his enemies specifically picked this spawn point to make his life miserable. Stopping in front of the heavy metal door marked 137, the master knows there's a serious trap waiting for him inside. Locking the gate, the guards sarcastically tell him to make friends with the veterans and yell at the inmates to keep the noise down. With a massive echoing clang, the heavy iron gate slams shut, completely cutting the MC off from the outside server. The pitch-black cell is only lit by a bunch of glowing eyes staring at the new guy with pure toxic intent. One of the inmates whispers to the cell boss that the kid young Master Lin sent for the IP treatment just spawned in. The head honcho just grunts, flashing a mouth full of metal teeth while radiating total confidence. He tells his goons to step up and give the new guy a crash course on the brutal rules of their dark cell. Scanning the enemies, Lu Donglai thinks about how much cash Lin Nanhong must have blown to bribe these hardcore mobs. Strutting up with a mocking grin, a beefy guy with a mohawk gets totally triggered seeing the young dude show absolutely zero fear. Pissed off by the kid's audacity, the brute aggressively grabs his shoulder and orders him to bow down to the boss immediately. Without breaking his dead-eyed stare, Lu Donglai tells the massive dude to get his hands off him and move out of the way. The meathead swears that even if they didn't get paid, he'd still make sure to completely cripple the kid just for fun. Throwing the first punch, the massive guy aims a heavy strike at the master's face, but the MC just casually slips right past it. With insane reflexes, the young dude punishes the whiffed attack, grabbing the guy's arm before he can even cancel his animation. Applying absolute hydraulic pressure to the joint, the MC makes the attacker scream in pure agony as his bone loudly snaps. Collapsing onto the floor, the brute clutches his shattered arm, screaming, while the rest of the server watches in stunned silence. Deep in the dark corners of cell 137, the other inmates surround the new guy as the tension spikes off the charts. Seeing his guy get folded, the feared cell boss Scar steps up and admits the kid actually has some decent PvP skills. Grabbing the young dude's shoulder with an iron grip, the boss warns that even an overpowered dragon has to bow down when entering his zone. He doubles down on the trash talk, swearing to snap every bone in the kid's body until he's begging for a game over he won't get. With that, the boss claims the kid is about to feel the horrific consequences of angering the massive VIP young Master Lin. Outside the cell bars, the other prisoners start cheering like crazy, hyping up the boss and begging to see some action. The leader commands Lu Donglai to drop to his knees and lick his boots right now if he wants to unlock the busy mode. In a literal blink, the young dude moves and delivers a savage slap that swats the giant's hand away like it was nothing. Glaring at the enemy with pure disgust, Lu Donglai asks if the guy has trouble understanding simple English and tells him to back off. The cell boss grinds his teeth in pure rage, totally humiliated by the kid's absolute disrespect for his supreme authority. Boiling over, Scar commands the entire squad to jump the kid all at once and permanently break the arrogant noob. He reminds his crew that young Master Lin gave them the green light to go absolutely wild, so it's finally time to have some fun. Following orders, the mob of prisoners swarms the young dude, totally ready to teach him an incredibly painful lesson. Reading their aggro, Lu Donglai catches the scent of pure malice coming off them and decides absolutely nobody here deserves mercy. Right on cue, a massive wave of blue spiritual energy flares up around the MC's fists, locking him in for combat. Wrapped in blue spirit flames, Lu Donglai decides there's literally zero reason to nerf his power against such toxic trash. Two goons charge at him blindly, throwing wild haymakers, trying to score a quick knockout. Moving like an absolute blur, the MC effortlessly sidesteps their attacks with flawless dodges that leave the enemies totally confused. Punishing their wide, open defense, he lands a critical strike that makes the first opponent scream in agony. Another inmate yells for everyone to rush him at once, hoping to stunlock the kid so he can't breathe or counter. Totally unbothered, the master catches one attacker's leg mid-air while perfectly blocking another enemy's punch at the exact same time. Flexing absolute raw power, he casually snaps the bones of both attackers in a fraction of a second like it's nothing. The goons collapse onto the cold floor, screaming in sheer misery as they feel their limbs get completely wrecked by the counter. Rolling on the ground crying, the criminals mourn their broken arms and legs while the young dude stands tall with zero damage taken. Keeping a poker face, the master sighs, realizing this pathetic level of physical strength couldn't possibly teach him anything useful. Annoyed by his squad getting wiped, Scar grinds his teeth and rants about how his crew is just a bunch of useless NPCs. The massive boss rips off his prison shirt, taking matters into his own hands and stomping toward the kid like a raid boss. Flexing his absolute tank build, the leader announces he has to personally delete the kid to finish the quest. Lu Donglai just looks at him like he's trash and tells him if he actually wants to fight, he needs to stop yapping and throw hands. Rushing in with pure rage, Scar throws a devastating haymaker right at the MC's face, screaming for him to tank the hit. Watching the ultra-fast attack come in, the young dude realizes the speed is completely broken and clocks Scar as another martial artist. Easily dodging the strike, the master genuinely feels bad that the guy only spec'd into brute force with 0 points in actual technique. The giant gets super salty about the dodge and screams at the kid to pay close attention to his ultimate signature move. Channeling his vitality, the brute activates his bull charge, skill summoning a massive purple aura that flares up behind him. Lu Donglai thinks this is a perfect opportunity and plans to use the kinetic energy of the attack to fully lock in his level 2 status. So the MC catches the absolute unit's ultimate charge with just one hand, creating a massive shockwave that rattles the whole cell. The prison boss's eyes practically fall out of his head, totally unable to compute how his ultimate skill just got fully negated mid-air. Without letting up, the young dude squeezes the enemy's hand, causing a horrific bone-crushing fracture with terrifying ease. The massive guy lets out a desperate high-pitched scream, literally begging the master to let go of his arm before it falls off. Dropping to his knees in front of the MC, the attacker whines in deep pain, finally realizing his stats are absolute garbage against this god-tier power. Exploiting the completely broken guard, the master unloads a devastating front kick right into the enemy's chest. The crushing impact sends the massive boss flying backward, smashing violently into the solid concrete wall of the cell. Knocked down and coughing up dust, the defeated leader struggles for breath while watching the master casually walk up like the Grim Reaper. Standing over his broken rival, Lu Donglai calmly asks if still wants to keep running this PvP match. Out of pure spite, the attacker wipes his mouth, pulls a hidden shiv, and swears this boss fight isn't over yet. Blinded by rage and holding the blade, the guy charges at the young dude, screaming wildly that he's gonna end his run right here. Without even flinching, the master just closes his eyes for a second, totally annoyed by how insanely stubborn this noob is. Doing the impossible, Lu Donglai catches the sharp edge of the shiv barehanded, with his left hand stopping the attack without taking a single point of damage. The massive boss completely short-circuits, terrified to see the kid just tanked a metal blade with his bare skin. Mocking the guy for thinking a basic weapon was his win condition, the young dude simply snaps the iron blade in half using just his fingers. Watching from the back, the other inmates are shivering in pure terror, seriously questioning if this casual-looking kid is even human. Totally humiliated and clutching his busted hand, Scar stays on his knees while the master demands to know who sent the raid party. Turning to look at the rest of the prisoners huddled in the dark, the young dude asks with pure boss energy if anyone else wants the smoke. Instantly, a red-haired inmate dives onto the floor, begging for forgiveness for not recognizing the master's absolute god-tier power. The rest of the cell drops to their knees begging for their lives, quickly snitching that Lin Nanhong bribed them to do the hit. Wanting the full patch notes on this setup, Lu Donglai asks exactly what kind of loot the military heir promised them. Shaking like a leaf, Scar admits young Master Lin promised a payout of 100,000 bucks plus a massive reduction on his sentence. The master scoffs at the lowball offer, mockingly asking if selling out their own bodies to get completely wrecked was really worth a measly 100,000 bucks. Staring down the squad of kneeling goons, the MC drops the new server rules, officially declaring that he is the absolute admin of this cell now. The criminals accept the update, instantly shouting at the top of their lungs that the kid is officially the new undisputed king of the block. Finding the hole, Prison King. Title pretty cringe. The MC does the math and figures old man Han should be pulling up to extract him in exactly 2 days. 24 hours pass by and the clock finally hits the morning of the old man's scheduled healing appointment in the city. Sitting on the precinct's office desk, the MC's confiscated smartphone starts vibrating like crazy with an incoming call. Staring at the ringing phone, Police Chief Wang Dehan laughs, thinking it's hilarious that someone actually has the nerve to try and contact the jailed kid. Picking up the call, the cop rudely tells the caller to stop spamming, explaining the kid ticked off Master Lin and is currently locked up. On the other end of the line, old man Han Weiguo totally loses his mind, slamming his fist on the table and demanding answers ASAP. The old man orders the cops to release the young dude instantly, but the delegate just laughs, saying nobody walks free after crossing the Lin clan. Getting super cocky, Chief Wang Dehan brags that not even the highest-ranking VIP in the country could force him to release the kid. The call abruptly drops with a loud beep, leaving the old man staring at the phone, completely stunned by the disrespect. Erupting into massive rage, Han Weiguo screams in the meeting room, completely losing his cool in front of his subordinate and his grandson. The grandson tries to tell him to chill, but the old guy yells that these clueless cops have absolutely no idea what kind of monster they just locked up. Wasting zero time, the old man shouts for his right-hand man, the military bodyguard Chen Yang, to kick off the rescue mission. He orders the soldier to raid the station, get the young dude out, and tells him to drop the military commander's name if anyone tries to play games. Snapping a crisp salute, the soldier promises his boss he'll speed run the extraction mission with zero issues. Meanwhile, Delegate Wang Dehan is casually puffing a cigarette, finding it completely hilarious that people are calling a random outcast master. Smiling to himself, the delegate opens his desk drawer and safely stashes the bribe money he scored for the dirty job. He's super pumped about how easy it was to farm all that cash just for throwing a kid in a cell, sending mental thanks to young Master Lin. Out of nowhere, extremely aggressive pounding on the office door jump scares the cop, completely ruining his victory lap. Tilted by the interruption, he screams that he's busy and demands to know what idiot dared to disturb him right now. Suddenly, the wooden door gets absolutely breached, sending splinters flying everywhere and leaving the cop in total shock. A soldier in full uniform, Chen Yang, storms into the room and coldly asks if this guy is the server admin around here. Furious about his door getting blasted, the delegate jumps up, points a finger, and screams that raiding a police station is a massive felony. Totally ignoring the cop's rant, the soldier delivers a savage slap right across the corrupt delegate's face. The sheer force of the slap launches the guy backward over his desk, sending his dirty bribe money flying all over the floor. Laying in the mess of paperwork, the delegate is completely stunned, locked, unable to process the absolute unit that just assaulted him. Snapping out of it, the cop screams that he's going to blow the soldier's head off for daring to lay hands on an officer. In a flash, the military guy draws his sidearm and points it directly at the delegate's forehead, freezing him in place instantly. Flashing his official military ID, the soldier demands to know exactly who the cop thought he was threatening. Shaking like a leaf, the cop begs to talk it out and nervously asks why a military fippy is currently raiding his office. Dead serious, the soldier orders him to release Lu Donglai, immediately dropping the bomb that he's here to escort the young master out. The delegate goes totally silent, realizing this massive raid was triggered entirely over Lu Donglai. He tries to argue that the kid's case is super heavy and letting him walk just totally breaks the game's rules. The soldier tells him to shut his mouth and demands to see the master right now, forcing the terrified cop to comply instantly. With it, the soldier orders the cop to lead the way to the cell so they can pull the kid out of there once and for all. In his head, the corrupt cop is desperately praying that Lu Donglai hasn't hit 0 HP after dealing with the cell's toxic players. Speed walking through the station's creepy hallways, the rescue squad pulls up to the infamous cell 137. The delegate asks if the kid got griefed and hears back that the cell boss is a monster who probably left him unrecognizable. He nods, thinking a good beatdown guarantees he'll collect the rest of the bounty from the Lin family. Arriving at the cell door, the police captain looks through the bars and his brain totally short-circuits at the sight inside. The most hardcore criminals on the server are feeding the MC fresh fruit and giving him a massage while he relaxes like an absolute king. The guards start freaking out, unable to comprehend how the prison's most toxic boss got humbled into being the kid's personal butler. Keeping his cool, imposing posture, Lu Donglai just shoots a silent, deadpan stare at the authorities who just spawned in. The MC notes that the 2 days are officially up, but the head guard yells that absolutely nobody authorized his release yet. He warns the kid that having high PvP stats means nothing in here, and that the cell boss was just the tutorial for his punishment. Trying to assert dominance, the chief orders a total ban on food for the cell, wanting to see if the kid will keep his cocky attitude while starving. The master just sighs, feeling sorry that the cop literally just threw away his last chance to avoid a horrible ending. The officer laughs off the warning, thinking the prisoner is just tilted, and complains about the kid's icy stare. He keeps laughing out loud, bragging that he can't wait to watch the kid drop to his knees and beg for loot when the hunger kicks in. Suddenly, Delegate Wang Dahan teleports behind his own guard and delivers a massive punch right to the guy's laughing face. Hurting and totally furious about the friendly fire, the smacked officer screams, demanding to know who the coward is. The delegate absolutely loses it, yelling at the guard and asking who gave him the green light to abuse a civilian in holding. Scrambling fast, the delegate unlocks the cell door and tells the MC he's free to go, secretly sweating with relief that the kid is completely fine. Soldier Chen Yang respectfully asks the young dude to follow him back to Old Man Han, and the master praises the squad for clutching the rescue. However, the MC suddenly announces he can't log out of the precinct just yet, leaving everyone in the room super confused. The soldier looks puzzled by the curveball and asks why the young master would actually want to stay in this dump. Pointing straight at the head guard, the master reminds him of his previous threat and asks if the guy wanted to see him on his knees begging. He demands that the arrogant cop drop to the floor right now to pay up for all the trash talking he just did. The master orders the guard to beg like his life depends on it for the MC to leave the prison, striking absolute terror into the cop. Seeing the heavy military presence backing the kid, the police captain drops to his knees on the cold concrete, totally clueless on what to do. The delegate literally kicks his own subordinate, telling him to stop lagging and start begging so the master will finally bounce. Completely humiliated, the head guard presses his forehead to the dirty floor and starts stuttering out his apologies on low volume. The master coldly states his audio is too low and orders the cop to crank up the volume on his humiliating apology. The officer starts screaming in pure desperation, begging the young dude to leave, confessing he messed up big time and admitting he never should have targeted him. With literal tears streaming down his face, he keeps crying on his knees, pleading for the master's mercy in front of the whole lobby. Looking down at the completely broken cop, the young dude decides the guy has finally learned his lesson. Satisfied that the NPC submitted, he finally agrees to exit the cell and start walking toward freedom. The delegate acts like the ultimate suck-up, personally clearing the path and guiding the young master with maximum respect. The prisoners all bow in perfect sync, shouting a highly respectful goodbye to the undisputed admin of their cell block. The delegate tries to save face, claiming the guards just had a little misunderstanding, but the master flat out tells him to shut it. In the other cells, inmates whisper in shock at the delegate, bowing down, wondering what kind of insane clout this kid actually has. Leaving the depressing precinct in the rear view, the MC and the soldier stroll out into the bright exterior courtyard. The delegate wipes the cold sweat off his forehead, thanking the heavens that he finally got that walking hazard off his turf. The military guy respectfully pops open the back door of a massive black luxury SUV and invites the master to hop in. The MC casually asks if the guy is actual active duty military, and the bodyguard instantly confirms his status. Throwing a sharp salute, the soldier formally introduces himself as a first lieutenant taking direct orders from Old Man Han. The young master gives the green light to roll out and the lieutenant nods before jumping into the driver's seat. With it, the massive tires of the SUV spin out and the vehicle launches out of the parking lot with serious speed. Listening to the engine roar, the car cruises through the city streets, heading straight to the waypoint set by Old Man Han. Meanwhile, everything is running like normal back on the busy main campus of Shangjiang University. The rival with the busted arm checks his phone, totally convinced the MC has already been permanently deleted in his cell. But a text drops from the delegate dropping the bomb that the highly influential Han family just bailed the kid out, warning him to watch his back. The military heir completely blue screens at the news, physically dropping his phone onto the classroom floor in pure shock. He starts stuttering, unable to process why the absolutely overpowered Han faction would burn favors to save a random outcast. A random student tries to play nice and asks what's wrong, but gets violently shoved away by the guy who is completely raging. Consumed by rage and panic, the heir starts kicking chairs around, screaming about why the rival clan is messing with his game plan. Realizing this just escalated to a massive threat, he knows he has to ping his dad and older brother about the incoming danger immediately. Right then, the black SUV rolls through the massive front gates of an insanely huge and luxurious mansion. The lieutenant mentions that Old Man Han was absolutely furious about the whole arrest, and the master casually replies he already saw that coming. Glancing in the rearview mirror, the driver asks how the kid knew the old man had enough clout to actually pull off the rescue. Checking out the heavy military security on the lawn, the master notes that only a retired top-tier general would have a base like this. Chen Yang explains the old man is a war veteran loaded with permanent battle debuffs that modern medicine literally cannot patch up. Hearing that, Lu Donglai says he figured that was the questline, while the lieutenant apologizes for running a background check on his account. He admits he knows the kid is a discarded heir of the Lu family who spent the last 20 years acting like a complete NPC. The MC asks straight up if the soldier doubts his healing abilities, but the lieutenant quickly denies it. Parking the SUV, the soldier confesses he just wants to clear up one tiny suspicion, which catches the young dude's interest. Suddenly, Chen Yang shifts into an aggressive combat stance, flexing his physical stats to test the kid's reaction time. Unloading a lightning-fast heavy punch, the soldier charges straight at the MC with everything he's got, blocking the massive hit with just one hand and zero effort. Lu Donglai casually asks if this was just a basic stat check. Blown away by the perfect parry, Chen Yang respects that the young master is absolutely a hidden high-level martial artist. In his mind, the MC accepts the title knowing the cultivator class doesn't even exist on Earth, making it the perfect cover story. The soldier declares that if he's a true martial artist, he can definitely clutch the heel for the old man and escorts the kid inside. The duo walks up to the grand entrance of the absolutely massive Han family estate. Inside, the old man's stressed-out son Han Feng is yelling about how his dad could possibly trust some random street healer. The old man fires back, asking if his own son thinks his judgment is trash, but Han Feng insists he shouldn't gamble with his HP. Flexing his connections, Han Feng introduces Dr. Smith in the States, claiming this VIP doctor is the only one who can carry the heel. Pushing up his glasses with total disrespect, Dr. Smith calls the old man a victim of a scam, saying absolutely nobody in this country has the stats to cure him. The old man gets insanely triggered by the doctor's massive ego, but his grandson plays peacekeeper, suggesting the foreigner might actually have the right buffs. Laughing like a toxic troll, the American doctor doubles down, saying anyone promising a magic cure is just a shameless scammer. Suddenly, the doctor chokes on his laugh, his eyes going wide as he spots someone spawning at the entrance of the living room.